Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love Empty Nest, by people who love Empty Nest, about how much we hate Empty Nest. We are here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
And thanks for joining us again here on our Empty Nest podcast. We are going to watch an episode from October of 1993, from season 6.
Going way back.
We're going way back. Season 6, it's called Mom's the Word. Jack, have you seen this one?
You know, I probably have seen this one in syndication at some point on either TBS or NBC. I don't remember. It doesn't ring any bells specifically. I think this might be the one that has Fred Stoller in it, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
When Fred Stoller plays, remember when he played the hypochondriac, and he thought something was wrong with him. And it's not that. I don't think it is this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I think I got cancer, and Harry was like, you don't have cancer, and like kicks him out of the office, and then it turns out he had cancer, and it was a dark ending. I don't think it's that. This might be the one that starts with the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Okay,
but we'll see.
We'll see. Well, we're gonna take a look.
Have you seen it?
Like you, I probably watched it when I was younger, like most of our episodes.
Yeah, of course.
I watched them as a kid.
Right.
Most of these Empty Nest episodes, but rewatching them now brings a lot more back.
Yeah.
I feel like I can watch it critically.
Yeah,
nowadays.
it's not quite seeing it the same way. You kind of see the Matrix code falling from the screen.
That's
there's
exactly
a blonde, a brunette, and a Dreyfus.
Yes. But you guys know all this because we're 25 episodes deep. So let's take a break and we're gonna watch this episode. If you have not seen it yet, you can watch it on YouTube. If you Google or if you YouTube search, you can use Google too. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Just search Empty Nest. Mom's the Word.
Should pop right up.
It should be the first result with many, many views. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
See you soon.
Hey, Prexter. Did you tell Mike about the pitter-patter of little fetus?
No, I couldn't face it. Men are so prejudiced against pregnant women.
Maybe some men. Personally, I consider a woman carrying new life to be the ultimate expression of feminine beauty.
Charlie, that's very enlightened of you. So would you date one?
Ew.
So that was Mom's the Word.
Yes, indeed it was.
Season 6.
Season 6?
So
A post-classic episode,
Yeah,
obviously.
post-classic.
They'd already added Estelle
the Maxine
Getty.
Warfield Estelle Getty years, when he retired and was in the clinic.
Yeah.
I would say that's post-classic. And then the season with Emily where Barbara was still in the credits, but she wasn't on the show, that's kind of like a transitional, it was post-classic, but it still retained a lot of that classic.
Oh yeah, that old Empty Nest humor and the kind of the style and the character dynamics. Yeah,
it's
definitely.
still familiar on the outside. It's just like something's a little different.
That was the season where they first brought in the youngest daughter. That was the season with the cruise ship episode, right? Where Charlie gets into the fight with the comedian. Yeah, that's a classic.
It's funny too because I always remember Emily just like being a shoehorned in extra character that it's just like Barbara had to leave because
the third daughter, the youngest daughter.
The actress had her personal problems and she left the show. So I thought they just put her in because the sitcom wanted to fill that blank. But apparently, I didn't realize this until recently. Emily is mentioned in the very first scene of the pilot. Harry's actually on the phone with her. She's like at college in New York and asking about advice on what to wear to the opera. So
that's crazy.
She wasn't shoehorned in. She was actually there from the beginning.
There from the beginning.
It was like really Susan Harris, creator of Empty Nest. It was a lot of like detailed world building. Like she plotted it out
right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. Yeah,
that's funny.
More than Lost.
I think a lot. Yeah, I mean, Empty Nest is very similar to Lost in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That being one of them. But I was actually on the Empty Nest boards the other day reading about that, and people were outraged.
The
like,
Reddits,
how dare they? Yeah, this subreddit about Empty Nest. How dare they add this new character? And I'm going to post now and be like, hey guys, we went back and we watched the pilot. She was seated
it's
in.
It's going to be embarrassing.
It's all there. It's all like Lost. It's all coming together.
But not a lot of people see the pilot. They get confused because there was the Empty Nest backdoor pilot, Empty Nests.
Right, it was technically a Golden Girls episode.
But it was the same house, and like Charlie was there, but he was called
His name was Oliver. I know.
But it wasn't Harry. It was Paul Dooley, a wimpy from Popeye movie.
Yeah, right. Of course.
So I mean, obviously, people get confused.
I mean, Richard Mulligan was a big. They traded up.
Yeah.
No offense to Paul Dooley.
No, Paul Dooley's great, but that wasn't his show.
No, Richard Mulligan kills it.
Richard Mulligan, first of all, He died in 2000. I could have sworn he died like more recently.
Yeah, that's
That's
a bummer.
And he was young. He was like 66, 67.
He was, but yeah.
This is like I just found this out when we were prepping for
Boy, we're just
today's
dropping
episode.
all the empty nest knowledge right now.
Yeah, of course,
You
of
guys,
course.
You know us. We love dropping the empty nest knowledge. Let's do it. Hit us, Jack.
So Richard Mulligan was married like 4 different times, which TV actor, sure, he probably gets around with the ladies.
Yep.
He was married for 1 year in 93, 94, right around when this episode aired, to a 31-year-old porn star. Like isn't that like Richard Mulligan?
Wow.
Like I could see some TV actors like your Charlie Sheen doing that.
Right.
But,
Oh, definitely.
But I guess like Richard Mulligan kind of was the early
He was the Charlie
90s
Sheen of his
Charlie
day.
Sheen. Yeah. So I thought
That's
that was
crazy.
interesting.
Richard Mulligan, so nice. He was so good in that Twilight Zone episode, The
Yeah.
Joys of Caliban.
Yeah, he was
It's a
great.
classic.
Yeah. Oh well, let's get on.
Let's get to the
All right.
episode. Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So we'll recap the episode just in case you missed it. I mean, you should watch it on YouTube.
You clearly didn't miss it. I mean, everyone is waiting.
Of course, this was
You guys have been waiting for
This was
weeks.
one of our most requested episodes.
Yeah.
That's why we too many to name.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
yeah.
So thanks everyone who suggested
Yeah,
this
we
one. By the way,
appreciate it,
Yeah.
and of course you can always send more suggestions at Worst Episode Pod at Twitter.
Right, and
Facebook.
or the subreddit. We're always looking
Yeah,
at
of
the
course.
subreddit.
So this episode, so this is actually continuing the story of when Paul Provenza played like that live-in artist in season 5.
Right, the one who looked like Ted Mosby in the college flashbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And he was very much in love with Carol, and things were going well. But apparently he knocks her up and then left her. It's like Empty Nest is not afraid to skew. They get
go
up there
there.
with their
They
dark
go there.
stories.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Not all is well in the nest. There's a darkness over those birds.
you could choke on that regurgitated worm.
It's intense.
So he left her pregnant. So this season picks up where she's very early in her pregnancy, but she's got nobody. It's kind of sad that she's pretty much just got Harry.
Right. She's got Harry. Well, they have Charlie too. But, We'll talk.
Well,
We'll talk about Charlie.
We're getting ahead of
Yeah.
ourselves. So this episode starts off with her on the phone complaining about her pregnant body and how she's everything's changing and she's worried about toxins and stuff.
Right. She's only maybe a month or 2 pregnant.
Right,
at this point.
right.
Yeah.
It's early
so
on.
she's not even showing.
And then, we won't get into details, but basically she's just really neurotic and nervous about everything, hurting her or the baby, and it's driving Harry crazy. And then I can't remember there's a baby shower. I can't remember if it was an idea to distract her, if they're just gonna. I mean, you gotta have a baby shower anyway.
Well, I think that was just because she was feeling very anxious. There was a lot of anxiety about the baby.
Right.
They wanted to do something nice
Just
for
calm her
her,
down,
like
yeah,
as a calming
yeah.
down, to show her that she does have people who care about her.
Right. So Laverne.
Spoiler alert: the baby shower doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, not at least not in this episode.
Right.
But so Laverne and Maxine decide to co-throw the baby shower together, and they're both strong, independent women. So they're both conflicting about how to do this, and Maxine Warfield was only in the show for like 4 episodes at this point, so they're still feeling each other out and marking their territory. So
Like cats, two cats who are living together
yeah.
and have to kind of scope it out.
Exactly. So this baby shower was a good moment for them to really see what each other had. So they're planning this baby shower. Meanwhile, Carol is going on a date, and she doesn't want to tell the guy that she's pregnant because she thinks it'll scare him away. She doesn't know whether she should tell him or not. But she ends up liking him, and he seems to be like a nice guy. And she goes on a date and misses the surprise shower.
Yep.
But that's okay because Laverne, who was prepping so hard to get this shower off the ground, actually.
She forgot to mail the invitations, Laverne, you dummy.
Laverne did it again, but everybody works out. It was a very O-Henry-esque story.
It was. There was a lot of stuff happening, and then in the end, nothing really mattered in the episode.
Yeah.
The guy, we never see that guy again, who she goes on the date with,
Right.
and eventually they do have the baby shower.
They it's not.
They took a mulligan on the baby shower.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see ourselves out.
And then there's a stinger at the end where
Charlie steals a turkey.
Yeah, Charlie steals the turkey because Carol thinks there's
radon in it.
So so that's it.
Let's start from the top. Let's talk about the theme song a little bit, Jack.
Okay, so this is season 6. Things are a little bit different. The earlier seasons, they had this great montage of Harry, who was a widower. His wife had died 18 months earlier. So it's like a montage of him and Dreyfus just kind of walking through Miami and hanging out,
getting into comedic little bits.
Yeah.
Of like, oh no, get out of the bed, Dreyfus.
That makes sense because they didn't have that much footage to use. Most sitcoms at the time would incorporate the footage like clips into the theme song,
right?
Which this show does in season 6. And they also have to provide some extra beats for new cast members. Estelle Getty, she was obviously from the Golden Girls,
Bringing over her character Sophia Petrillo from the Golden Girls,
and it's funny because
the Golden Palace.
Yeah, because Golden Palace they were hoping to have Golden Palace last for a while. It was the same exact cast except they took out B. Arthur and added in Cheech Marin.
Yep.
But it got canceled.
Which obviously an upgrade.
Yeah, and for some reason it got canceled. Like people didn't want, it's like Arrested Development.
B. Arthur was the glue that held the Golden Girls together.
Okay, you can argue that.
know?
You can argue that. I mean, if she was the glue, Cheech Marin could have been like Scotch tape. It could have kept them together.
He was at most gum holding something together.
All right, I'll give you Cheech Marin was gum. So, so she's not on Golden Palace anymore. So Estelle Getty joins the cast, and then obviously Harry retired, and he works for the Free Clinic, and that's where...
Obviously.
And Marcia Warfield was Roz on Night Court, and that show had just ended. So, it's kind of like a perfect storm. Empty Nest benefited from all these other great shows ending their runs.
Right, kind of just picking up these actors and actresses and just kind of building this like machine, like a Voltron of like NBC stars.
Well, you know what? Should we talk about...
Should we talk about this?
Should we talk about this? So,
Yeah, let's do it.
So, okay, just in case you didn't know, I'm sure you do, but Susan Harris.
I mean, if you're fans of the Empty Nest cast, you know all about this.
Susan Harris, she made a name for herself when she wrote the famous abortion episode of Maude.
Right.
And then she co-created with her husband, Paul Jungerwitt. She created
a number of shows.
Yeah, she created Golden Girls first of all, and then obviously she created the spin-off of Golden Girls,
Empty Nest,
and then after that there was a spin-off of Empty Nest, Nurses, of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's funny that this was one of the only times in television history where not only did you have 3 shows within the same universe, but they were airing the same night, one after another.
Right,
like
and one block.
Saturday on NBC.
It was Saturday night, because they wanted to get the target demographic, which is young men in their late 20s, early 30s.
Saturday night you can watch TV.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, we would have watched it we wanted to watch some Empty Nest last night, but we
were too tired. I had to go home to my cat.
We're not young men anymore.
No. We love Empty Nest.
But so they all take place in the same universe. It's kind of a precursor to. I think you know where I'm going with this.
I think, are you bringing up like the Marvel Avengers cinematic universe?
Exactly.
So you're saying that Marvel got the idea for the Avengers series of films from Susan Harris by creating the Golden Girls.
I mean, I can't speak for them, but I bet you it planted, at the very least, it planted the mind in...
Kevin Feige was a fan of Susan Harris's.
Is that how you say Feige?
Yeah,
I thought it was
Feige.
like phage, like the yogurt.
Like the yogurt?
Yeah.
No, it's Feige.
Oh, okay. I like phage better. I wouldn't want my name to be Feige.
All right, we'll call him Kevin Feige.
No, we'll call him his name.
All right, Kevin Feige
did. He, despite maybe the fact he stole from Empty Nest.
His billions of dollars. Well, he lifted. He just borrowed. Yeah. He improved upon. Some might say. So, I personally disagree. I think the culmination that they originally wanted to do, the huge crossover where the Golden Girls and the Nurses and the Empty Nest,
like the hurricane episodes.
They team up. They team up to fight Thanos, and it's an amazing. it just never got made, but it would have been really great.
That would have been fantastic. Yeah. Guardians of the Miami.
Guardians of the Miami.
Yeah. So, you had said something interesting the other day too.
That's probably not true.
Because we were talking about the Marvel universe and the Empty Nest universe.
And the similarities and the Lost universe. They're all very, very close together.
Which is just normal subway conversation.
Supernatural things, superpowers. Dreyfus, maybe he's what's going on with him.
You had an interesting theory about how movies are becoming TV and.
Yeah, that's true. That is an actual thought I had.
Yeah.
Where TVs are trending towards being more like movies, and movies are becoming more like TV, because you have these series that are really just like 13-hour movies, like a House of Cards or something. If you want to watch House of Cards, but like shows like that where it's designed to be binge watched and it's designed to kind of tell one cohesive story.
Right, you watch House of Cards all at once as you would watch a House of Cards movie,
like a long movie.
Yeah,
but movies are now actually becoming like something with like what Marvel does, obviously inspired by Susan Harris and the Golden Girls verse, where you start with one movie and then it turns into a series that builds upon each other, and you could watch like one without seeing the other ones, but you enjoy it more if you watch all of them. Like a Law and Order, it's a procedural show, but if you know Stabler and you know all the characters, it helps the watching.
Right, like what was the episode Dumped in season 1 of Empty Nest where Dorothy Zbornak, B. Arthur,
right, where she just pops in.
Yeah, and they don't say like, oh, if it isn't the Golden Girl, you just kind of
Golden Girl herself.
Like most, if you're a fan of the universe, and you get enjoyment out of it. If you don't, you just enjoy B. Arthur as B. Arthur because she's such a talent.
Right, because she's terrific.
Yeah. That's a really interesting theory. I agree. I'm just trying to wonder how come that's happened. Why is that? I guess that's a
I don't
longer
know.
conversation.
Probably, but let's get back to the nest while
All
we're
right. But we were talking about the theme song, the new theme song. So they updated it. About season 4, season 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It became more upbeat, and they have like female backup vocals.
I guess a little more like early '90s with kind of the vocal track.
So you think it's about the? I thought maybe it was because like a story thing where it's a little bit more melancholy in the earlier seasons, and I think it's because it's still closer to Libby's death. And like Harry is still really mourning that his wife died, and he's only like in his 50s. She died. She died young,
fairly young. Yeah.
And he's still like kind of really sad and hard. But like once he's got his daughters move in, he's getting a gnome. He's found passion in his work. He works at the free clinic.
Right.
So like the music kind of reflects that.
Yeah, I that could be true, but I also think just early '90s.
You're
a
talking
lot
about
of
the
sitcoms
transition.
Seinfeld had the.
Yeah. So that's more the. That is the
theme.
That's
to
kind of
Seinfeld.
night courtish too. So no, don't sing it. We can't pay the rights. But
All right.
no, yeah.
The night court lawyers are
I
terrible.
would say I mean, obviously, there's a difference between post-classic episodes and classic episodes, and we're looking at them objectively. But obviously, the classic episodes just have something post-classic. But a clear way I see to distinguish the two is the transitional music. In the earlier episodes, they would always have that empty nest music. Like a reprise of the empty nest music,
and they more upbeat version, but using the same notes
between scenes when they would show like exteriors of the hospital or Miami or whatever. They do this from time. They still use that once in a while now, but now they do like you said, like this weird hip hoppy Seinfeld,
like a more vocalization kind of like beatboxing kind of thing.
Yeah. So and it doesn't really fit. I don't know. I don't like it.
Well, beatboxing hadn't really hit the senior community in Miami yet, and when it did, it was huge. But at this point, it's a little ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I remember my baby shower like it was yesterday. Picture it. Sicily, 1933. The piazza's decorated in blue and pink. The whole town is there.
Sounds wonderful.
It was, till Uncle Tony took a bullet in the gut. He ended up face down in the eggplant parmesan.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah, you had to eat around him.
Yeah, I mean, the early 90s thing, the whole aesthetic of the early 90s, I thought was well represented in this show, because you have, Charlie comes in and he's wearing the polo tucked into the jeans, and the jeans are really high-waisted.
Right.
And Richard Mulligan actually rocks a very interesting look. He's got the cardigan zip-up sweater over a polo, over a bright pastel polo shirt, and it's, only in Miami in the 90s, am I right?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's a great. That's why it's great to watch shows like Empty Nest, because not only are you just getting quality storytelling and acting and direction,
it's like a time machine.
It's like I was gonna say a time capsule.
It's like a time machine capsule.
A time machine capsule.
Yeah,
a time capsule that you put in a time machine and delivered straight to the future, so it didn't have to be buried under the ground that whole time.
Now that's convenient. Yeah. That's an idea.
That's kind of what YouTube is.
That is kind of what YouTube is. That's it, and people. I don't know. Cut this. I don't know what I'm saying.
Cut all this.
Cut all of this. This is all garbage.
All right, so let's talk about the first scene. So she's on the phone. Carol's on the phone, and she's saying, "Oh, my breasts are sore, and my hormones are all out of whack."
Right.
Anyway, I'm not interested in a long distance provider.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The old bait and switch comedy classic. You're
Yeah.
talking to the telephone guy.
It's a simple joke. It's it's an easy joke, but I honestly didn't see it coming. I liked it. Yeah.
I liked it too.
Actually, that whole opening scene is great, because then Harry comes in and she's freaking out about something's wrong with the table, like the material of the table is toxic.
Right.
And Harry
says he'll bring the lead vests from the hospital and they can use that as a tablecloth.
Yeah, he's like, it's wood. Wood is from trees. That's
wood is good.
Yeah, you know what? This was actually, I really liked the story in this episode, because Dinah Minoff, Figgy, Fagey, Minoff. So Dinah Minoff, she was playing like a quintessential neurotic. So I would say she's up there for the neurotic sitcom types. Like today, you have your Sheldon,
right?
Like she really was she was to the nth degree. Like, they did not water down her neuroses from episode 1.
From episode 1, yeah.
From the pilot. She was like always like that. And then, so she was great at that to begin with, but you've seen that on sitcoms, but she was great at it. But then the idea of making her pregnant, like, season 6, a pregnant character is a pretty worn trope. But there are ways, people get pregnant. So sometimes there's ways to make it work. Like Parks and Recreation did a good job with it.
Right.
I think this was great because, it plays right into her neuroses. Like, how do you have this neurotic character who's already neurotic to the nth degree? How do you double down on that?
She's worrying about her baby now.
And
that's the biggest thing anyone can worry about is their child.
Like a pregnant storyline, whatever, but a pregnant Carol Weston story is like, and this episode is like, that's the story. And it sets up a great conflict with Harry because it's just the two of them now. Everybody else has moved out. And it's just like Harry just wants to watch TV and be like live his semi-retired life.
Well, and it's also a good parallel because she's worrying about her child, and obviously she is Harry's child, and he's worried about her, and that's why they have a nice moment at the end where it's like, once you have a child, that's your world, and she's like, oh, well, I'm your world, or she, some bullshit thing at the end of the show when the music swells and everyone learns the moral.
I remember. I mean, obviously, I just saw that scene and I thought it was a great way to wrap it up. But you're right; they were setting up that whole.
Yes, everything ties together within the episode, but also within the larger Golden Girls verse.
Yeah, of course. So that's funny. So I really like that this episode had a clear conflict. It's like, Harry wants to be a caring father and a caring grandfather, but at the same time, it's his TV's gone.
Right, yeah, because Carol actually gives the TV away to Charlie, their next door neighbor, because it's emitting so much radon, and she's worried about the safety. Which is as good a time as any. Let's talk about Charlie a little bit and his his presence in the episode.
Sure. Joe Azuzu.
Played by Joe Azuzu himself, David Leisure, the quintessential wacky neighbor character.
You had a funny nickname for him.
It was David Sports and Leisure. His middle name is Sports Ed. He comes in, he's the fun-loving guy. He works on a cruise ship. We've all seen the classic episodes on the cruise ship. He comes in.
That's a pseudo post-classic, but.
Well, it was on the cusp. It was like right around the time where the writers stopped paying so much attention. Like
a season 11, 12 of The Simpsons, if you're familiar.
No, I don't know that show. But Charlie, the neighbor on Empty Nest, he comes in and he's kind of like Quagmire. Like I think Quagmire may have actually been inspired by Charlie from Empty Nest.
And remember I was like,
I know everything about Family Guy. I'm not sure about this Simpsons show you're bringing up.
No, it's funny because when when I remember the show from my childhood, I remember Charlie's white uniform, and I could never remember if he was like a sailor or a pilot. And now I think, of course, he's a sailor, obviously, but I bet you the pilot came into my head because Quagmire. Because
Quagmire, yeah.
Holy shit, you're right.
He's
Quagmire,
basically non-ironic Quagmire.
That's amazing. I never I'm sure Seth MacFarlane is a big Empty Nest fan.
I'm sure, and he's one of our great listeners and a big donor to the Empty Nest podcast here.
He buys a lot of stuff on our Amazon through Wii.
Yes, that's right.
But
that's right.
Yeah, you're right. Quagmire is 100%.
He's basically just non-ironic Charlie.
That's awesome.
And Charlie comes in, and you have to wonder, like they did this all the time in old sitcoms. Why would they just allow your neighbor just to walk in all the time?
Yeah, the doors are unlocked. Well,
the door's unlocked. I guess. Certain parts of Miami, hey man, you lock those doors.
The Dexter parts.
That's right. You don't want Dexter barging in and murdering you in the middle of the night.
And stealing your turkey.
That's how Dexter works, right? He stole everyone's turkey. He was like Yogi Bear, but also killed people.
That's how they pitched it.
Yeah. He's like a Yogi Bear type, but he also murders people.
We'll buy it.
Sold.
8 seasons, please.
It's interesting that Charlie is always coming into their apartment, but Dr. Weston's never going over to his house. You never see him stealing Charlie's turkey.
Have we ever even seen Charlie's?
Not in any of the episodes that we've watched for this show.
Right.
Maybe we'll get there. Maybe season 7. They finally went to Charlie's place.
I mean, you got eventually
for the failed spinoff, Charlie's Place.
Yeah, I mean, even Home Improvement, like late in one of the later seasons, we finally got to see Wilson's house. It was actually a great episode because it was really great cinematography because they had to hide Wilson's face through all his, but it works because Wilson keeps all these like stupid antiques and stuff in his house. Yeah. So there's always these funny things to block the bottom half of his face.
Clever Home Improvement.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, someone should do a Home Improvement podcast. Like
we should do it's pod time. Does everybody know what time it is? It's pod time.
The podcast.
That's a much better name. But sponsored by Binford. Through We.
Yeah, of course, through We. Shop through WePodcast.com. Buy your Binford power tools and your Empty Nest DVD sets.
Which don't exist. So
in this universe,
let's get back to the plot. So Maxine and Laverne want to throw her a shower. What do you think about the addition of Maxine, Dr. Maxine Douglas, to season 6 and 7?
I think it was a good change. Mix it up, another strong female character for really Harry to knock off of, which you pointed out when we were watching this episode.
Yeah, actually, does the Empty Nest really was one of the more progressive. It was very much like the
it's a pro-fem show.
I was gonna say like the 70s shows like Maude and I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. The amazing.
Richard Mulligan?
No, Norman Lear.
Oh yeah.
The great Norman Lear shows, All in the Family.
All in the Family and all their spin-offs.
Yeah, so
that's a whole different universe. It's like a DC Marvel thing.
Yeah, of course. The Norman Lear, just like the DC universe, is much darker and grittier.
Yeah. Culminating in Archie Bunker's Place, which was nothing but grim brutality.
and Khal Drogo is Aquaman.
Of course.
So Empty Nest was
Khal
one of the...
Drogo as Meathead.
Like the night, I mean, God, compared to now, for whatever reason, we seem to be going backwards. Like more conservative with our, not just in politics but in television and stuff. Like it's like there was a abortion joke in season 1 of Empty Nest that was, think what you will about abortion, but it was just a fucking funny joke. And
it was
mainly because B. Arthur can deliver a line,
right?
But she was like being harassed by all the annoying kids in the pediatrician's office, and she's just like,
oh, I remember it well.
Yeah, and
she's being harassed by the kids, and she says, "I'm writing that check to Planned Parenthood."
Yeah, like that. You wouldn't see that joke today in 2015.
That's edgy for 1988. Yeah, that's edgy for 2015.
Yeah. So anyway, we're more conservative now, but even the 80s and the 90s, things had kind of softened up a bit. I would maybe post Reagan, I don't know, but Empty Nest did have that like Norman Lear vibe, and this was a really feminist show. I mean, you have Harry.
There's only two this season specifically. There's only two males
and
in the cast.
I think all the seasons except for that one Paul Provenza thing.
Which less said the better. I mean, that was really when it started to go downhill.
Exactly. But no, so all the characters are females, and they're all strong female. Like they're all independent, strong females. Yeah,
they have their quirks because Carol's neurotic, as we were talking about, but she's still a very strong presence.
I mean, Laverne is like
some might say Carol actually runs the household. I mean, a little subversion that they might be doing.
In one of the Pearl Prevents episodes, there is actually a plot where she's put in charge of the finances by Harry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because she wants to get the coupon for the toilet paper.
Right. And she's like, "What's better than having free toilet paper?
It's better than sex." Yeah. And Paul Prevents like, "Gee, thanks."
Yeah. Right.
No. So I mean, you have Laverne is like a very strong, independent character. Estelle Getty, like Sophia from Golden Girls, of course, very strong, independent character. Like it was just great when you have a show with one like well-defined, complex, strong female character, it's a blessing. And this show is pretty much the entire cast. You have two males. You have Harry, who's the lead, obviously. And then you have Charlie, who is a womanizer and like a chauvinist, and they play it off as like a joke. It's like they neuter him.
You're actually right. They're like making fun of that kind of macho pig-headedness. And even Charlie has his moments where he is, a decent guy.
Yeah, like when he stood up for Emily against that asshole.
Classic cruise ship episode.
Asshole comic. Yeah, so you're right. It's a very pro-feminist show, and Maxine Warfield did fit that.
Right, and she's a very strong female character. She obviously adds some diversity to the cast,
which it needed by season 6.
Woman. Yeah, definitely.
I think she was the only person of color in the entire run,
which I actually think is pretty interesting when you set a show in Miami, which is a very largely
Latino,
Hispanic,
and they make a lot of Cuba jokes,
and they made a lot of jokes about Cuba. I don't think I ever saw one Cuban person on Empty Nest.
Why didn't they
get? They
should have got Cheech Marin's character from Golden Palace.
That would have been good.
Further build, like how Hawkeye was just in Thor for like that one scene.
Right.
Like, that would have been great.
A lot of people have compared Cheech Marin to Hawkeye. You're not alone in that.
And Chong as the Scarlet Widow.
That's right.
Black Widow.
Scarlet Widow.
Is it Black Widow?
It's Black Widow and Scarlet Witch.
You're
all right. You're mashing them up.
Sorry. Not the comics guy.
Yeah.
I know my Empty Nest and my that's about it.
Whoa, bro, are you insulting my Empty Nest knowledge? Because I sometimes host an Empty Nest trivia night, but we'll plug that at the end of the show.
You know what? And this is not quite. This doesn't really have anything to do with the feminism per se, but I do want to talk about Estelle Getty's character.
Okay,
obviously
let's do it.
They added her
Sophia
in the cast.
Petrullo, love her.
Yeah. So, what did you think of her scenes?
She did feel a little tacked on, a little shoehorned in, as some might say. Pop, pop, pop. And But she basically came in, and she filled this role a lot of times in Golden Girls also, where she would just come in with the one-liners and like tell a crazy story.
Stories of Sicily.
She has the story of like, what was it, her wedding in Sicily?
Her baby shower.
Her baby shower in Sicily, where her Uncle Tony catches a bullet and they have to eat around him.
Yeah, he dies in the eggplant parmesan.
Yeah, that was a pretty dark joke, but it was good because, coming from Estelle Getty.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Well, all right.
She's Mom, and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I mean, come on.
So that's the exact type of story, and most of her line deliveries are the exact types of jokes that she did in the Golden Girls. Yeah. And that's what I want to talk about because it's really interesting because it, in a way, it kind of cheapens the show Empty Nest a little bit. By it's post-classic, and they're shoehorning in, like you said, these characters, and then not only are they shoehorning them in, but then they're kind of she's pretty much just doing the Golden Girl shtick. They're not. It's not quite incorporated.
Well, she's the same character.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, and I know, but so it's kind of a weird compromise. It's funny. It's like it reminds me of. It's basically because the spin-off is pretty much just stealing what was good from the previous one and just reusing it. Like, look, this worked, so
more
we're
the same,
we're gonna
but
take
slightly
it.
different.
And it's like Jeopardy, down in the middle of its run, it eventually took the before and after category from Wheel of Fortune. And it's like, in a way, it's kind of cheapening Jeopardy because it's stooping down to Pat Sajak's level. But in another way, it's one of my favorite categories.
Yeah, it's a great Jeopardy category.
And then they do a little spin on it, like they'll do movies before and after, or they have a before, during, and after.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, so like I'm not against it. Like I said, it's one of my favorite categories. And, but it in a way, I feel a little dirty because it just feels a little stolen.
It's like you're cheating on Wheel of Fortune with Jeopardy or something like that.
Not even that.
Or Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are cheating on you.
That's it.
It.
Yeah. Well, the only difference. So that aside, the fact that they're stealing a little, I do think Estelle Getty, and I think you mentioned it too, felt a little bit different from the Sophia Petrillo of Golden Girls. I mean, granted, she is a few years older, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. It just. Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, I don't.
She was more sexual.
I'm hanging on everything you're saying. She was more sexual.
Like her jokes had more innuendo, more like she was talking about
on Empty Nest.
Yeah, like she's like, oh, I'm reading this magazine on how to pick up hot seniors, and oh, that's a teen magazine. They mean high school seniors. She's like, so.
Right.
So like her jokes were just a little bluer than they were on it. Like the Golden Girls wasn't afraid to get a little blue.
No, definitely not. But it was usually Blanche delivering the blue humor there.
I don't know. I feel like this is again more of a product of its time. Like this season of Empty Nest was coming out right around when Seinfeld was hitting its peak and Friends was just getting going. So I feel like they thought they had to compete. They had to sex up the show a bit.
Seinfeld's airing the contest episode, the infamous one where they start masturbating. Right. How's Empty Nest going to respond?
Exactly.
We're going to have Sophia talk about banging a high school kid.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That makes sense.
So again, I see what they're doing, and I can't quite blame them for it. Like, what else are you going to do? You got to compete with Friends and Seinfeld.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, that's not the Empty Nest I know,
That's true. In fact, as we were just talking about this, I remember at the baby shower at the end, when Estelle Getty is the only person there, they're like, she says, can't we just get a stripper?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
Lots of jokes like that.
She's much more sexualized. Which is not what you want in Estelle Getty. Well, maybe you do. I don't know.
Yeah. And so post-classic Empty Nest, maybe they're doing this more sexual stuff. I don't even think the audience want it because the audience seems to respond more
they cut to people in the audience going, ooh.
No, well, that'd be great if they did. But no, the studio audience, I noticed they would respond more to the jokes that were more classic era Empty
Tried and
Nest.
true sitcom jokes,
Harry is trying to stop Maxine from saying something to Laverne, and he's behind Laverne's back, and he's doing
right.
And then
actually wanted to talk about that, but finish your point. Yeah.
So Maxine goes, "What's the matter, Flipper?" And the audience fucking goes wild. Usually it's almost you can't tell with live studio audience laughter from canned laughter, but you can tell when it's real when somebody
called it Flipper,
somebody's clapping. Yeah, and there was 3 people who were you could hear the knee slaps in the audience.
They were hooping in the audience.
They love the Flipper line. And it's just like, you know what? See, why are you having Estelle Getty make stripper jokes? And clearly the Empty Nest.
When she should be making Flipper jokes.
I like that. They rhyme.
Yep. Yeah, so just going back to what you said about Richard Mulligan's kind of behind the shoulder, waving his pulling on his neck or whatever. I just wanted to point out how fantastic Richard Mulligan is for. He's not that old here. I think he's probably in his late
60,
50s, maybe 60, maybe 60. He's pretty spry for an older gent.
Yeah.
And he is very good at the physical comedy.
Yeah,
Just
he is.
Little things like how he moves his hands, or where he's looking, or what he's
or his facial expressions.
Yeah. All of that is just top notch. And if you haven't watched this episode, you should, just for that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed there's like an evolution of Richard Mulligan's portrayal of Harry Weston. So like if you watch the pilot, which again not a lot of many people are seeing, I don't even think it's on YouTube. I think there's like a choppy version you could probably catch on Daily Motion.
Okay, what's that, like a YouTube, but they put more commercials in it? It makes
well,
it less,
you would think
less
so,
good to
but
watch.
I keep getting commercials on YouTube now, so who knows?
That's
but
nuts. We gotta just wait until Empty Nest World opens up.
exactly,
That'll make things
I mean,
so much easier.
Get on that FX now.
Yeah.
The world is clamoring for Empty Nest World.
They did it with some other show, but I don't remember what it was. And they did like some marathon where they showed every episode. And that would be great for Empty Nest. I think it would be
They should totally do
huge.
an Empty Nest marathon in July.
Every nest ever.
No, so Richard Mulligan, like in the pilot, he's doing a very Borscht Belt like Jewish comedian, like who, me, and it's funny coming out of this very waspy look, like even his name is waspy, like Richard Mulligan, and he was on Soap and he played a very waspy character, and it's funny to see him doing this, like it's almost like. Even though he was great on Soap, he's like, oh, if I'm going to be on this 3-camera, this multicam traditional sitcom, I better ham it up.
Right.
And he hams it up in the pilot.
He's much more subdued
now. And then if you watch like the later ones, he's much more subdued. He got comfortable in his role. He's acting as Harry. He's not doing sitcom shtick.
Right.
He's become Harry Weston.
He's embodied the character.
But what's funny is about these post-classic episodes, like the really late in the run, the Maxine episodes, the Free Clinic episodes.
Yep.
Is he's kind of gone back a little to he's hamming it up now, but he's comfortable as Harry. It's like he first he had to learn how to be Harry, and now he can be
now he can play with Harry.
He's ham Harry.
He's ham Harry. He's not just hamming it up as Richard Mulligan.
Exactly. And I'm not sure. It's funny. It's definitely a funnier portrayal. It's easier to laugh at his portrayal, but it also feels a little bit cheaper. Look, I know you're not familiar with the Simpsons. But it reminds me of how Homer was a very straight, grounded character in the early seasons, but in the later seasons, he's like a big fucking idiot. But in the classic, the best years, he found the perfect middle world to play in. And Harry does.
That seems like it would be annoying. Like if the main character of your show started as this like kind of sweet but dopey family man and just turned gradually into this sort of monster who is just completely an idiot and every once in a while does things where he's like, hitting manatees in the face with jet skis or like, I don't know, just
I mean, stuff that would
raping a panda or being raped by a panda. Just off the top of my head.
Stuff that when you say it out loud like that, it seems like that is just
silly.
Awful.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't know anything about that.
Well, speaking of other shows, MDS also had balls, that's one of the reasons we love it so much.
Well, only two people had balls, Harry and Charlie, but continue.
But the show itself had balls, because there's a scene where Charlie's talking about how he has Harry's TV in the shower, and he says he was watching Dr. Quinn, but he had to change the channel for Urkel.
Yeah, right.
So right there, he's mentioning two different shows Dr. Quinn was on in the same time slot, and on two different networks.
Yeah, CBS and ABC.
And ABC, Family Matters. And it's funny because most shows won't do that. They like to pretend that the other shows just don't exist because they don't want you to plant the idea in your head like, maybe I should watch
check out that Dr. Quinn.
And I love that Empty Nest was so self-confident and so secure in itself that it could be like, go fucking watch Dr. Quinn. Yeah,
we know you're coming back to the nest.
Exactly.
Okay, you can check out that Urkel shit.
Yeah, do you want to watch a medicine woman or do you want to watch a pediatrician who lives with his daughters and works at a free clinic with Estelle Getty?
He's got a big dog. Who wasn't really in this episode very much. But we wish he had been.
We'll talk about that in the ranking, but
okay.
We're going to lose some Dreyfus points.
There is one thing I just want to say back on Charlie for a second. Charlie interrupts Carol's date. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
She introduces him as, this is my neighbor Charlie, and I'm wondering, this is six seasons. We're way into this. At what point does he become their friend?
Like, this is my
just like here's my neighbor.
Who's just defined by
by his proximity to where they live.
That's a good point. I'm trying to think of like how I have friends and people I would consider aunts and uncles who I grew up next to that were just neighbors.
Yeah.
I feel like almost neighbor is a more intimate term.
No, really? Than friend?
Well, I think it's
it's
contextual. I think you could like, that's my neighbor. He lives down the street. Or like, that's my neighbor. He's more than a friend. He lives next to me. He hears me when I'm screaming at my wife. He sees me when I'm mowing the lawn. There's a more personal.
He looks through my
there.
windows when I'm taking a shower.
Yeah, exactly.
Which Charlie probably did, but let's be honest.
Yeah, it's funny they never really bring that up, like how he just waltzes in and the house.
Yeah.
It's implied he's been doing it for a while. And at the pilot, I mean, Emily was only 19, so these he was probably like walking in the house when these girls were teens.
You know, that's why he became friends with his elderly pediatrician. It's interesting, too. I kind of wonder if Charlie's mentally handicapped in some way, because he really, in this episode, has no memory. He's got the memory of a fish.
They do take some liberties with his intelligence and make him a little too dumb.
Right. He's supposed to keep Carol in the house so that they can pick her up for the baby shower, but instead he's eating a sandwich while she just walks out, which is funny. But, you know, it might have cheapened Charlie's character a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's the joke about him flushing newspaper, and he has to go get the plunger because he forgot that he wasn't supposed to flush newspaper.
Yeah, I think that's a symptom of the post-classic Nest where just the characters came a little too broad. Like, you know, he was...
Maybe a lot like that other character you were referring to.
Homer Simpson from The Simpsons. Yeah.
Okay. If you say
Nothing?
so.
Nothing?
No, I don't know. Is he like Peter Griffin on Family Guy?
It's similar, yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, because like Charlie in, like, say, season 1... you know, he was still dumb, but he wasn't like ridiculously so. Like, there's a great line in the episode where Barbara's trying to learn how to cook, and he's like, he just like as he's leaving, he just goes, she's like, "Hey, don't you want to stay for dinner?" And his line is literally just, "No, I don't want to stay for dinner. It smells bad." And like that's the line. Like, it's not even a joke. Like, if you read the script, you go, "Where's the joke?" He's just saying the food smells bad. But
right.
But
it's all in David Leisure's
David
delivery.
Leisure can deliver it, and it works for the character. He's honest. He's brutally honest.
Yeah.
Like, that's a stupid that exists in real life. There are people who are stupid socially.
They have
don't
no
know.
filter. It's just
Exactly.
like, this food smells bad.
Yeah,
but like when he says it, like, this food smells bad.
Yeah, bad.
It's
yeah, and he makes a classic Charlie face.
Classic.
That's
Totally.
different from forgetting that you flushed newspaper down the toilet. So that's definitely a post-classic Nest that, you know, I kind of wish it wasn't there, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You mentioned the stinger with the steel. He uses the radon detector to steal a turkey. See, that's a great Charlie moment. It's literally like
That was a little more like
the
classic
neighbor
Charlie.
stealing the pie off the windowsill. It was very
Right.
like
He
it was a
comes
throwback to
Yeah, there's a turkey just sitting on the counter because Carol had rubbed the radon thing on it and it was high for radon, so he just like, all right, free turkey, and scurries back to his lair to
and
eat
it's
the
like
turkey.
He's not stealing like a jar of pickles. He's stealing a full cooked turkey. It's kind
But
of
if he
awesome.
did want to steal a jar of pickles,
So I
guess
Carol was cooking it. Carol is the better cook because he took the turkey. He didn't go, "This smells bad."
That's true. Yeah.
No, I guess that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the episode. Except there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, and it has nothing to do with the actual original airing of the episode. I think it has to do with YouTube.
Oh, right. Yes.
If you watch YouTube, if you watch this episode, "Mom's the Word,"
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube,
Which is how we just watched it today.
it was, it's not the best quality. It's obviously pre-HD, but it gives a character. But there's this one moment where the audio just kind of cuts out. Like, I don't know. It must have happened in the transfer.
And it was a key moment too. It's when Harry is arguing with Laverne,
and it's a
over
great
the party.
argument. It's like it's Neil Simon-esque, like in the banter.
She keeps bringing up like flaws in his plan.
Yeah,
and
she's like,
he comes back with the answers.
say you're on a car phone. And he's like, say your car broke down and you had to walk. And he's like,
it's like, but I have a car phone. It's like, say the car phone's broken, but
say there's a payphone.
Payphone's there. Yeah. So it was an argument like that.
And then he goes, and she goes, well, say the payphone's broken. And then Harry says something, but the audio just completely cuts out, but just for his 1.5 lines.
Yeah.
So it totally looks like he's cursing.
Yeah, and then when it comes back, she's like, well, I guess we'll do it your way.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like he's just like screaming curses.
I'm pretty sure, like, if you go back and watch this episode, it's funny because I'm pretty sure the following words kind of fit. It sounds like he's like, well, say I kill you, you fucking cunt, and like
not words you usually expect from Dr. Harry Weston.
Exactly, and that's why it's so funny because I almost wonder if the person who uploaded this video purposely took out that one line because he's like, oh man, people are gonna think he's just calling it a C word, and then her reaction, like you said, is priceless.
This whole thing is trolling for the Empty Nest community. I'm gonna get on the subreddit.
If anybody out there can upload a real, I mean, it's funny, but it would be nice to true to the show. I want to hear what actually.
I want to know what that missing line is. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it wasn't the C word.
No, I don't think so.
Because I have a better plan. Now, you two will be driving through my neighborhood on the way to the mall to pick up your tuxedo for the hospital fundraiser.
What hospital fundraiser?
Oh, for Pete's sakes, ain't no fundraiser. We're spinning a yarn.
I see. Go on.
So then, you'll get a couple of blocks from my house and you'll pretend your car breaks down. But luckily, you're near my house, so you can come on in and use my phone to call for help.
I have a car phone.
Say it's broken.
Say we're near a payphone.
Say it's out of order.
Say a cop drives by.
Say he's off duty. Okay, we'll do that full movie thing.
Okay, so it is time to rank this episode amongst the other great Empty Nest episodes that we have watched on this podcast. We do that on a 4-factor system, looking at the humor of the episode, how funny was it, the integrity of the episode, how much did it hold together.
Yeah, character integrity,
Yep.
how is
Story
everybody,
integrity,
everybody living up to their previous selves.
The production of the episode, which is ranked a little bit less, like how'd the episode look, how was everyone's
Direction,
acting,
yeah.
the direction.
We won't take away points for the that YouTube.
No, we will.
silence.
We know that.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't the master tape.
Yeah. And finally, the originality of the episode, and that's kind of just the story overall, like
Yeah.
how unique
story,
was this episode.
plot, and it's also that's where we consider how well they integrated Dreyfus into the story. Dreyfus the dog,
Right, this is also the Dreyfus
played
category.
by Bear the dog in real life.
Of course.
So yeah, this is kind of the Dreyfus category.
Okay, so let's do it. Are we are we setting up a timer here?
Yeah, set 2. Let's just set 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay, 2 minutes are on the clock. Here we go. Let's rank this episode. Okay, humor. What do we got? This was a pretty funny episode.
Honestly, I do think that this was kind of funny. It's definitely funnier than the pilot. I'm not crazy about the pilot.
Yeah, same. I'm gonna say it's above average.
Yeah, I would say it's like I said, it's kind of it's easier to laugh at jokes, but
Right.
I did laugh. So yeah, I would give this
I'm gonna go with a 3. I think
I'll go with a 3.5.
we're doing this on a 0 to 5 scale, by the way.
Of course,
Which I neglected.
2.5 is the average.
Okay, so
3.5 for humor.
For humor, the integrity of the episode. Everyone was pretty much on point. They were still a little.
Sophia was a little more
iffy.
stripper, a little less flipper, but
It's like all killer, no filler. More stripper, less flipper. Like the other way around. Flipper that around.
yeah, don't stripper it around.
Don't stripper it around.
Whatever that means.
You'll get arrested for that. So the integrity of the episode, I'm gonna say it was there, but I'm gonna starting from the average. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna say it was a 2.
All right,
on
so I would go
integrity.
down for 2 with these still, but again, I think this is one of the best Carol Weston episodes I've ever seen because it's taking her neuroses and by combining it with the pregnancy, that's exactly what a pregnant Carol would look like. I've run out of time. I would actually say that more than cancels out the Estelle Getty. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay. The production of the episode, I think it looked fine. I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
Yeah,
Go
2.5.
Straight down the middle.
2.5. Nothing much special.
No, not much. And finally, the originality of the episode. I like the idea of the surprise baby shower, kind of cheering everyone
the
up.
pregnant trope.
Going on a date with a pregnant woman, trying to hide the fact that she's pregnant. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, a little tropey. But again, like I said, they put the Nest spin on it and did a good job. But Dreyfus, I'm not sure if he was in this episode
That's true.
at all.
This is the Dreyfus category. I'm going to dock it a lot of points for that. I'm going to go down to 1.5, actually. That's a big knock.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 1.5.
Okay, 1.5 it is. So crunching our numbers, that puts it, it's just above the pilot episode as the worst episode we've watched. Empty Nest. That's a shame.
It makes sense. It's a season 6.
But it's not
it's
that
it's
not
competing
that
with
bad.
it's competing with some pretty golden episodes.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie to the Rescue from season 5 is a top-notch.
Dumped the 17th episode from season 1 is
That's a good
probably
one.
my favorite. At least for the ones we've done on the show, I would say Dumped is my favorite. That's our highest ranked, right?
Yeah, that's our highest so far.
Yeah.
Okay, great, everyone. Before we get out of here today, we got another little surprise for
Yeah,
you. One of our favorite bits here. We all know that Jack had an Empty Nest website.
Empty Nest versus the World.
Empty Nest versus the World, a website that Jack ran before we were in high school together, back in the early 90s.
It was on...
just a few years after Empty Nest went off the air.
It was on my website. I had a personal website called Bag O Goodies.
Yeah, okay,
You remember
good.
That?
Yeah, of course I remember that one.
I think it was bagogoodies.8h. It was
Yeah,
it was
right.
Yeah, and I put my favorite quotes from Conan O'Brien, Saturday Night Live on there, and I also posted my Empty Nest versus the World fan fiction.
Right, okay, yeah.
It's
so
where Empty Nest characters...
people would suggest characters for the Empty Nest universe to fight, and you would write up short little stories, unedited, unfiltered. So you have another one for us today,
Yeah,
Jack?
and obviously Empty Nest exists we were talking about, it exists in a larger television universe with all these other characters.
Yeah.
But I wasn't afraid to mix that universe with other.
Oh, that's
like
perfect.
It was kind of like a trailer I saw this week where it was Star Wars versus DC and Marvel.
Okay.
And it was a decent trailer. It wasn't amazing, but it was very well executed.
So this was like a huge mashup that you had done years ago.
Yeah, and I wasn't afraid to just pick and choose characters from universes that might not necessarily have been the same.
I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm real excited. Okay, here we go.
So this is from when somebody suggested that the cast of Empty Nest, the entire cast of Empty Nest, battles the entire cast of Nurses.
Wow. Okay,
but
this is
it's
a battle royal.
But it's the post-classic Empty Nest cast versus the post-classic Nurses. Remember the
Season 3 of Nurses?
when
Lonnie Anderson.
When Lonnie Anderson and Jack Trenton becomes pretty much the protagonist.
Of course.
And they got rid of the lead, Nurse Abigail, whatever her name is. So
we're all waiting with bated breath, Jack.
Here we go. Carol and Emily Weston decided to visit the free clinic and bring Harry some Special K waffles from Eggo Crisp. Just as Harry was about to greet them, the nurses from Nurses blocked the way. "You're going down," said Dr. Hank, leading the charge. "Oh yeah," said Harry from behind them. "Not so fast. Those are my daughters, and I love them. My wife died, and they're all I have. I will fight them to the death." "You sure will," replied Nurse Julie, wielding a bat with nails and shrapnel in it.
Oh, that got aggressive real quick.
Yeah, well, did you know Nurse Julie is married to Mitch Hurwitz, the creator of Arrested Development?
I did
Isn't
not know
kind
that.
of crazy?
That is crazy.
So she's got some oomph. I didn't know that at
Mitch
the time.
Hurwitz was a writer in this universe. He wrote for the Golden Girls.
Exactly. That's where he got. That's probably where they met.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they met another way. But anyway, "You sure will," replied Nurse Julie, wielding a bat with nails and shrapnel in it. "Nice bat," said Harry. "Not," he exclaimed,
Oh man, classic Harry Bird,
pulling out his gun from Harry's Got a Gun and shooting Nurse Julie in the eyeball. Yeah, Harry's Got a Gun is the
classic episode. Yeah.
"No," yelled Jack Trenton, who secretly had a crush on Nurse Julie and was going to ask her out one day. He immediately karate chopped Carol in the neck. Nurse Julie's blood still splattered on his expensive suit. Harry tried to shoot Jack, but Dr. Hank jumped in front and took the bullet straight to the heart. "No, not my hunk," yelled Gina in her Latino accent. She kicked Harry in the shin with a knife in her shoe. Harry dropped the gun down a sewer in pain. Gina was about to kick him in the face, but just then Maxine dropped an air conditioner from the second story of the clinic.
Wow.
It caved in Gina's skull and she died.
Poor Gina.
Paco Ortiz used his military skills from when he played the radar operator in that one scene in Independence Day and snapped Emily's neck. But Dreyfus jumped into frame and tore out his throat and then rolled his eyes at the camera like humans.
Killer Dreyfus.
Yeah, like Cujo.
Nice.
Jack Trenton threw I spelled through THROUGH. I wasn't at the
Okay.
time. I guess I was not the grammar nerd I am now.
Definitely.
Jack Trenton threw a lamb chop down the street, distracting Dreyfus, while Lonnie Anderson went to finish off Harry. But just then Laverne appeared using buckshot from her native swamp, destroying Lonnie Anderson's face. "You give nurses a bad name," she exclaimed. "I'm a real nurse, RN."
Whoa,
Nice. It was just Jack left. He tried to escape, but Charlie ran him over with a stolen van. Harry got up, limping. "Is it over?" he asked. "No," said a familiar raspy voice. The group looked and saw Sherman Helmsley's Deacon Ernest Fry standing in the middle of the street.
From Amen?
From Amen. With Dreyfus's head dangling from his hand.
No, Helmsley!
He, Thelma, Reuben, and Raleigh, and the rest of the cast of Amen were ready for battle. "Gulp," said Harry. "Don't worry, Daddy," came another familiar voice. It was Barbara, the cop. She was back and she was ready for action.
Yeah, Barbara!
"Let's do this," she said. They all rush each other for the ultimate battle. To be continued.
Whoa, okay. That was intense. We're going to need to hear the rest of that story.
One day.
One day, we'll get there. We can't give it all away for free on the free podcast. That was amazing. This was fantastic.
Yeah, this is a great show.
I have a kind of a weird suggestion, though, Jack.
Yeah.
You've been talking about this Simpsons show?
The Simpsons.
I'm looking it up a little bit now. I'm realizing that it came
During
out
my story? Like,
yeah,
you
I'm sorry. I was looking it up during your story.
I'm glad I captivated your attention
Yeah,
with my
you know.
hard-earned fanfic.
Well, you weren't the writer then that you were now.
50 Shades of Grey makes millions. Empty Nest versus the World gets a distraction on Wikipedia.
I don't know. That Amen got my interest, definitely.
Well, Amen got everybody's interest.
Well,
Amen.
totally. That's why it was the long-running show it was. No, I'm looking up this Simpsons show.
Simpsons.
And I think it may actually have been influenced by Empty Nest. So as a little bit of a change of pace, I think next week we should watch a Simpsons episode.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. It's
a little weird. I
It's
know.
Passover Easter next week, around about our Wednesday where we air. So why don't we do the greatest episode ever doed?
It may be called the greatest story ever done.
Greatest
I don't
story
know.
ever
I don't know
done. Sure.
nothing here.
I mean, yeah, whatever. so yeah, we'll watch it. It's The Simpsons Go to Israel. So we'll watch
sounds-
that, and we'll talk about that episode next
That
week.
sounds appropriate. And you guys can follow us on WePodcast.com. All that good stuff is there. You can click through our Amazon links and help support the show.
We're
And-
also there's also another place you can find us this week.
Yes, you can come to Empty Nest Trivia.
No, there's no Empty Nest Trivia. They're going to be looking for it. No, I'm talking about the podcast that we were on.
Oh, yes, we were recently on a podcast called Harry Says Yes with a friend of the
funny show, very funny
Harry
show.
Nelson. He may be appearing on this show at some point in the not too distant
No,
future.
we had a blast. He was really kind enough to invite us on his show, and he does a great like a pseudo talk show. And we played some games with him and chatted with him, and it was like a ton of fun. So
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You guys should check that out. You can find his information at Harry Podcast.
At Harry Podcast, is
or
Twitter for that.
You can Google it. You can check it out on Tumblr, on his Tumblr. It's a great show. Check out. You don't have to just check out the episode with us on it, but check that one out first.
That one should be pretty good.
yes.
If you like this show, you might like that episode.
Empty Nest Trivia couldn't get the ball rolling. Obviously, most people who like Empty Nest are in a kind of a higher. It's just kind of more too classy to go to pub trivia and stuff like that. you know?
That's true.
And we haven't been able to get any like nice fancy French restaurants to do Empty Nest Trivia.
No.
But there is, if you want to get into The Simpsons, I can recommend there is a great Simpsons trivia.
Okay.
It's actually tomorrow. It's the first Thursday of every month.
So April 2nd at a bar called Berry Park,
Berry
I think
Park,
it is,
yeah.
in Brooklyn. That's tomorrow. You can
we'll
come
be
see that.
there, and
I think I might be hosting it, which is weird because I
'cause
don't know anything about
the
this
Simpsons,
show. So check that out. That'll be fun. And if you live in Toronto or Chicago or a number of other North American cities, I'm pretty sure there are also these Simpsons trivia nights.
Yeah, if you had to guess, what other cities would it be?
Probably Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Is that a city? That's a city.
That's a city.
I don't know. It's in another country.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't be expected to know things about Canada.
Calgary, Chicago.
Everything I know about is Empty Nest. Chicago. There's one in Ann Arbor, I believe, that just got started.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. You can find more information about that. Yeah, so we'll be back. We're gonna watch that Simpsons episode instead of an Empty Nest one. Maybe you guys might like that a little bit better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Also, I'm going to throw out my personal Twitter in case you guys want to check me out. My non-weep Twitter is Jackie No Breaks at Jackie No Breaks.
Yep.
JCKIE No Breaks BRAKES.
My Twitter is at Then Dan Says. THEN.
So plenty of ways to
Dan
get in
Says.
touch with us. We have a fun Facebook page, a lot of fun comments.
Most of my tweeting is through the we tweet though. So.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and most of my tweeting is non-existent. But I'm hoping to start using it more. That's why I'm asking you guys to check it out.
Yeah. If you actually had followers, you might actually tweet.
And check out my Tumblr, Use in a Sentence, which hopefully by the time this airs, it's a Tumblr I started a year ago, and I've kind of fallen off to devote my time to nesting, and I really want to bring it back. So I hopefully by the time this airs, I'm going to have some fresh posts. It's called Use in a Sentence, and it's kind of runs with the theme of nostalgia and early '90s, and it's my spelling homework from 1992.
It's a lot funnier than that.
Yeah,
sounds.
it makes much more sense once you actually see it.
You were a weird kid in between the Empty Nest fan fiction. You came up with some very interesting
before I was
examples.
a normal adjusted writer writing my
course.
Empty Nest versus Nurses versus Amen.
Of course.
Amen.
Before versus Amen.
Let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up. Hey, it's April. It's April 1st, everybody. So, so
happy
thanks. Whatever.
April.
What's April 1st? Is that anything?
It's April
is that
Day.
a holiday?
May 1st is
Happy
May Day.
April Day.
Happy April
That's
Day.
what I think that day is.
We still haven't figured out a way to end our Empty Nest podcast yet, I guess.
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
You ready? You join with me here.
Okay,
You'll
call,
pick up,
call and respond.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly how we'll do it. Life goes on.
And so do we!
Just how